Welcome to another edition of Around Town, where we focus in on the people and the places of your community. I'm Larry Seaman, your host, and today we have a special show, as always. Right now we're talking to Shefali Kalyani.
Yes, it is.
Is that how you
That's
pronounce
right.
it? And she's part of a new organization, I'll say, a nonprofit organization here in Salem, New Hampshire, and it's called We Care Charity. Thank you. Do you mind if I call you Shelley?
No, that's
Okay.
fine. Works for me.
So if you could talk a little bit about what the organization is all about
Sure.
in a generic term, and then we'll get into more detail in a minute.
Sure. So We Care Charity was born about 3 years ago, and we're a 501c3 nonprofit organization out of Salem, New Hampshire, local here. And so we basically, our mission is to feed and clothe those in need.
Okay.
Having said that, as of today, we feed about 800 people a month in New Hampshire.
Wow.
And that includes 3 soup kitchens, 1 right here in Salem, New Hampshire, and 3 children's homes.
Very
so
good.
that is 800 people a month. Clothing, we've done a lot of drives here for shelters, coat drives and winter accessories drives and things like that. Mainly our drive consists of clothing for India. And we have sent so far as of today, we've shipped about 10,000 pounds of clothes to different parts of India and outskirts and villages, and has been distributed successfully.
But most of it is in this area here.
Most
that
of
you
it
do.
is in New Hampshire.
Talk a little bit about yourself, and how did you get involved with this? How
Sure.
did it all come about, and how did you build it up?
Well, talking about myself, I was, of course, born in India, and I came here when I was 12, and been here ever since. I was raised in Lowell, Massachusetts. So, and then we moved to New Hampshire. We've been here for many, many years. And my children have gone through the school systems here in Salem and have graduated. And, you know, it comes a time in everyone's life that you want to give back.
Right.
This country, even though it's home for us, and I don't think about it as this country, but my dad never lets me forget that we are immigrants here, and this country has given us so much, and it's time to give back. And that thought kept coming in my mind, and my husband and I wanted to give back, we just didn't know how. So we were both good cooks, and we love to cook. And our neighbors know that, our friends know that, our colleagues know that. So we said, you know, let's try to do something, and we wanted to give back, so in the form of feeding people. That came the most natural to us. And we started to call soup kitchens. And, you know, we weren't really getting anywhere in the beginning because all the churches and other organizations already had the date set, and they said they were all set. I was a little disheartened because I wanted to give back, and I was so excited, and there was nothing was happening. Nashua Soup Kitchen was the first organization, actually, that told us that, you know, they had a cancellation. And I think, you know what, it was meant to be, and it happened. And we said, we will love to feed people. Tell us how many people. And he said, 200. My jaw dropped. I said, how many? He said, 200. Is that going to be a problem? And I said, no. I was so adamant. I said, I'm going to do this if that's the last thing I do.
Great.
And I told my husband, I said, we got to feed 200 people. He said, oh, okay. So we got an estimate from them as to how many to feed. Our first meal was spaghetti, meatballs, garlic bread, and salad.
Oh, yeah, that works.
As simple as could get, right? So we did all the work, and we had a couple of friends, you know, and a couple of them, we actually just said, you had no choice, you got to come with us. And we cooked. And you know, cooking was great, but the serving was very humbling for me. I actually cried after I was done, because I just felt so good about what I did. And my husband was right there with me. And I said to Nashua Soup Kitchen, I want to do this again.
Oh, great.
And they said, well, let's see how we do next month, because they don't commit to you, because they want to make sure that people like your food, and you know, that there's no issues with a lot of other, they have a lot of other restrictions that they go
and
through.
usually they don't find out until after the
Correct.
fact.
So then the next month, they let us do it again, and the month after. So after 3 months, they basically said to us, would you like to just take one Saturday?
Great.
Okay, so they gave us 4th Saturday of the month. Right after that, I did the same thing for Portsmouth Soup Kitchen in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. And then between that, we had Dover, Portsmouth, and Nashua Children's Homes.
Wow.
So we cook there as well. And one of the things we try to do is we don't use canned foods. We do our best not to use frozen foods, and we cook everything by scratch. And that itself, I can tell you, things just taste better.
Right, right.
So that's how it started.
Tell me a little bit about your family. Talk about them.
Oh, sure,
for a
my
minute.
family. So I have, I work in IT. My husband is a chemical engineer. He also is, we both work full time. And we have 2 children. And my daughter, Anisha, graduated Salem High School, graduated Boston University, and now she's working in Manhattan, New York.
Oh, that's
and
great.
our son, he also graduated Salem High School. And he right now is in 3rd year at George Washington University in D.C.
Excellent. That's
So,
great.
and they've all been to soup kitchens. They've had no options.
Right, right. Well, they don't mind now,
No,
do they?
now
when
they love it.
when
In the
they do it,
beginning, when they were high
can.
schooler, they were new, it was like, a little bit, oh, can I come for half the time? And things like that. But it all worked
And
out.
your husband is always
Yes.
there with you?
My husband is the main cook.
Yeah, yeah.
And he's the main cook because, especially when you cook at a larger scale like that, I need him as a backup just to make sure that I'm also on right track because, numbers change all the time.
Right.
These are not, we're not inviting people. These are, a lot of them are homeless, a lot of them are in need. And, one day you could have 300, and we count plates, we don't count people.
Right.
So that we can estimate better.
Okay.
As far as money-wise, how many groceries to get, and also some people there, they eat up to 4 plates.
Wow.
Because that's the only meal they're eating. Okay, a lot of soup
So
kitchens.
there's no restrictions
There's
then?
no. A lot of
Okay.
soup kitchens do have restrictions that you
Yes,
have
they
to
do.
wait 20
Right.
minutes before you go back, or you can't eat more than twice, 2
Right,
plates,
right.
except when we go. There are no restrictions. You eat
that
until
is
your heart
great.
desire, and that's what I believe in, or my
Right.
husband believes in.
So how do you organize all this, especially since you have a full-time job?
Yes, it keeps us very busy and actually extremely organized because we need to be, otherwise it'd be chaos. So my meals are planned almost, for soup kitchens and for children's homes, they're planned almost a month in advance.
Mm-hmm.
Volunteers are lined up. For children's homes, my volunteers are lined up till early May.
Wow.
Okay. I always call them a week before just to confirm.
Yeah.
And if they're not, I have a list of volunteers who are backup because they're interested. And I a lot of times have to tap in on them. Salem Soup Kitchen being new, I always have volunteers. There is one person, and I will mention her name here, Tracy Smith. She has been my right hand. Without her, it's been now, I can't imagine. So she's been coming in week after week after week. And I met her daughter at Market Basket when I was purchasing this crazy number of groceries. And that's how I met Tracy.
Oh, that's
So
great.
it's
That's
been
great.
very local. Everything's been very local, very, very much here. And that's how we have our volunteers. Whoever is willing to volunteer, they call me. They give me their email, their phone number, and I have a list. I don't keep emailing people until I need someone. Then we will just ask whoever responds first. They are volunteers.
How about, I'll call them visitors, people that you
Guests,
serve.
yes.
Talk a little bit about,
So different locations.
I mean, do you have like expectations? Do you know who's going to be there for the?
Not really.
Okay.
As I said, this is not, it's not by invitation, it's by need. And the same people who are here this week may not be there next week.
Right.
So it varies. For example, here, I'll talk about our own town, Salem, New Hampshire. My first week I started in July, we had about 8 people.
Yeah.
Okay, they were like peeking in through the windows. And I heard that you guys are cooking here. Now we get about an average of 22. We still have some days, like last week when it was pouring rain, a lot of people didn't come.
Yeah.
So we do have food left over. We always prepare for 20, and then if there's leftover, we give it away because there's nothing, I can't do anything with it at home, and they can use it the next day. And those who are there, a lot of these folks who came last week are the true people in need. They, the stories you hear, it's heartbreaking. Each one has its own story as to why they're there.
Right.
That's Salem. Nashua is different story altogether. There we serve about 300 plates. So anytime somebody could come in, I want 2 plates and 3 plates, and sometimes we've only served 150. So the variation is there, but that usually happens around Christmas time where every church and every organization is out to feed people.
Right.
Okay, and then all of a sudden it just dies down.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's just the case. By February, January end, ward numbers go back up because they have nowhere to go.
Right.
And they come right back to soup kitchens. So we keep our consistency.
I'm not sure we mentioned where the facility is in Salem.
Sure. So the one in Salem, we cook and serve every single Saturday at 8, I'm sorry, every single Sunday at 4 o'clock. So that is at 8 Pleasant Street in Salem. It's part of the Methodist Church, the big white church right across, as you enter the Pleasant Street. The Tuscan Sun is on one side. There's a set of lights. You make a left, and there's a big white church on your right side. It's called Methodist Church. That's called 8 Pleasant Street. So it's there. We're not part of the church.
Okay.
We are our own independent nonprofit organization. We're not affiliated with any churches or with any of the political parties or anything like that. We're just out to feed people. But we were very fortunate and blessed, actually, that the church gave us the premises for free.
Oh, that is great.
So we use it every single Sunday.
Now, of course, they're building the Hope Center, and by the time this interview goes on, it probably will be almost ready to open.
Sure.
Will you be working with them at all?
I have not been informed of that as yet. I know that they have food pantry there that's going to go in, but the way that
Do you
I
think
was
be affected in any way, shape, or form, and negative
nah,
or positive?
Because no.
Good.
Because I think what we do is totally different than what they're doing. Because we literally just cook and feed, and then that's it.
And you mentioned that you're quite independent. You really don't have any organizations or businesses that support it?
No. And I would love some.
Yeah, okay.
But as of right now, no. This is what we do, feeding 800 people a month in New Hampshire locally, is funded by friends and family.
Right.
And
you don't work with the New Hampshire Food Bank or any of those places?
No, because I wasn't aware that I could work, because I'm also a nonprofit. They're a nonprofit. I'm not sure who can help how. I haven't really found out much, but maybe I should.
And you're also involved in clothes drives as well?
Yes, sir, I am.
I heard you mention that earlier, but perhaps
yes,
you
we
could
do.
more detail.
Sure.
In that.
So we do jacket drives. You know what happens around October, November timeframe? Everyone wants to donate. Everyone wants to donate to the soup kitchens, okay? And this is by personal experience I've seen. A lot of the folks who come at soup kitchens are, they have issues, and that's why they're there. And a lot of them lose things. A lot of them forget things. A lot of, it happens to the best of us, and it happens more on their end. Things get stolen because they're on streets. So what I do is I hold off on my stuff until about January, early February. That's when you start seeing people coming in to soup kitchens, shivering, and if they're wet because it's snowing or if it's raining or what have you. That's when I start giving out my stuff. And the way we do it is, I take a big tray and I just start walking around with scarves, and people help themselves. And same things with jackets. You give it dignity. So we have a big rack in the back. We put all the jackets there, and then they can help themselves however they want to take it. So they know it's there too for them to have.
Very good. And you also do serve the veterans at
yes, sir.
particular times of the year.
And what we do is every Veterans Day, November, we work with one organization for the last 2 years, and this year we worked with another one. We worked with Harbor Homes in Manchester and Nashua.
Yeah.
And what we did is we ordered brand new cot blankets, and we gave them about 150 cot blankets. We just went and donated them. This year we went with Homeland Heroes, which is a local place here, and I believe they're in Windham, New Hampshire.
Okay, yeah. They actually, I think they're part of Salem, but they also work in Windham and one of the other towns, Pelham or something.
Right, so I went to their warehouse, actually.
Yeah, oh, good, yes.
And I met the person who started this, Julie.
Oh, very
and
good.
I had a long talk with her as to how she started, how I started, things like that. And we donated this time the same blankets, cot blankets, to the local place here in Windham, New Hampshire.
Oh,
so we do that. We also, around May time frame, Memorial Day, we purchase a lot of, bags we make, actually. They're waterproof bags, and we put in things like socks and McDonald's or Burger King fast food, just what do you call it, the gift cards, and a lot of small things, essentials that the homeless can use for veterans.
Right.
And you know, we ask, I usually just go to Soup Kitchen and say, okay, where are my veteran friends? There's usually 1 or 2 tables and they all sit together.
Oh, good.
A lot of them have
nice.
Marine hats on and, you know, things like that. I know them now, so I would just go and give it to them. And they are, and then of course in there is always a thank you card from us, you know, saying thank you for everything you've done. And believe it or not, I've actually had one guy open up the card in front of me and he cried.
Oh.
He said, no one said that before. Of course they did when I left the Army, but no one has said that in years to me.
Right.
And he's a homeless guy. People want to avoid him, don't talk to him or what have you. But look him in the eye and say thank you.
Yeah.
And it meant so much to him. And just, you know, small things like that, that shows you care. That's all.
Yeah, I just can't understand how you can do all this and also help out in India as well.
Well, yeah. India, I've had a lot, and even here I've had a lot of volunteers. So these ideas, of course, are mine.
Yeah.
But, you know, to be executed, you need a good team. You need a lot of
For
people to
sure.
help you. And we've been very fortunate. So in India, what we did is, and as I said to you earlier in the interview, that I was born there, and I came here when I was 12. So, you know, it's also my home. This is my primary home, you know. But India is where I was born, so I could never forget that. And poverty there is at a totally different level. Can't really compare. It's apples and oranges. So one of the locations is my husband's home, in his hometown. The place is called Pune, Pune.
Okay.
And it is about, I would say, close to 150 miles south of Mumbai. And it's a big city. Like all cities in India, there's poverty everywhere. And what we did is we approached one of the biggest slums in that area. And we found 50 families out of that slum. That slum has 5,000 families living there.
Wow.
So we found the 50 families who are at the lowest level of poverty. And honestly, by the time you go through the levels of poverty, it's nauseating. You don't realize how lucky we are here. And we found 50 families who were actually breaking stones at construction site, working full time, breaking stones by hand at construction site.
Wow.
Because, you know, the labor is so much over there that sometimes you don't need big machinery, or they don't buy big machineries. So as a result, their children, and these families only ate once a day by default because that's all they could afford. Their children actually did not attend schools, but they sold things, you know, small things on streets right at the traffic lights. They would just go and right between the cars, and it's amazing. My son would tease me saying, you know, you didn't even let me get out of driveway when I was that young.
Right.
And these children, look at them, and it's a fact. They go through cars and they rush through streets just to sell things, just to get that extra nickel, so that they can afford to eat that evening. It's just that one meal. That's how important that one meal was. So what we did is we negotiated with these parents, and it took some time back and forth, that, you know, we will give you the grains to purchase, provided your children attend school. So they have local municipal schools there. So what we did is we put all the 50 kids, we got them into the free municipal schools, and we made a deal with the teachers saying the only way that we will be giving them free grains every month for every single day is if these children attend schools. So they would give them, you know, the roster as to who's out, who's in, like that. And at the end of the month, they would email that to us to make sure. And my sister-in-law is in India, and I have a lot of family, and I have a few good volunteers, including my own sister. And they would actually make sure that all these kids attended school. Yes, they did. Tick mark all of them, created a ration card per family, and the family has to bring that ration card with that child to the location where we're at. And then we will be giving them grains for, you know, distribute the grains so that they could eat for the whole month. This is after he's gone or she's gone through school.
That is great.
So that's how at least we've ensured 50 children attend school. Otherwise, they'd be out there selling things on streets. And, you know, I know they do it for money, but they're not going to get any education in return. And then what? Nothing, you know.
Right.
So the parents also want to break the circle. The parents also want to break the kids out of this, but it's not easy because of pure financial reasons. So that's one side of the story. The second side, in my hometown. Now, my hometown, my state, is the same place where the current Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi, is from, and where the poverty is there as well. So one of the things that we did there is we have a bunch of volunteers there who actually go to public schools, and they started to give extra classes to the kids who needed help. Okay? So now, because the monsoons in India are pretty dramatic, so what they did is they said, well, we can't teach them. They used to teach them in the open compound, okay, of the school. So what they did is one of the guys, some gentleman, he donated his apartment. He doesn't live there anymore, so he donated just one room. They have about 13 kids per room, everyone getting individualized help.
Isn't that great?
From volunteers, okay?
Yeah.
Now, if you think about it, these kids, they come from slum. Parents have never stepped inside schools before, and the father works as a driver, or they drive rickshaw, or they sell things on streets. Moms usually are either at home or they're working as servants in someone's homes. So these children's destination as they grow up is the same location as the parents,
Right,
okay?
right.
However, out of these 13 kids who are coming, 2 years ago we realized some are just extremely bright. They are just naturally very intelligent. So we said, okay, make them take private school exams. Okay, you need an examination. You need to pass that before you can enter any schools in India, private schools, not owned by government. Okay, and they're not as costly as here.
Yeah.
They're pretty affordable. So these kids, the first kid, he took the exam, and he cleared it. He passed the exam, and now the attitude walked in when he wanted to go into the school. The principal said, "No, you can't come in. Why? Because you're a slum kid." See, there's a difference there as well, unfortunately. Well, we have all the people here who are pretty well off, and we don't want some slum kid coming in here and he's going to ruin the reputation of the school. So when that news got to me, I said, all right, get the media, because this is wrong. And when they heard, media in India is very, very upcoming, very aggressive, and they don't play fair all the time. And they,
That's good to know.
We've
been known to be that way too.
But anyway, so to make a long story short, they admitted this child into the school.
Okay.
And he did
wow.
so well. So now we have 13 kids going to private schools.
Oh, that's
and we
great.
have people here funding that.
Oh,
and
good.
what's going to happen is when they graduate college, eventually, it's going to stop that whole generation of labor work and going into people's homes as servants, and that whole's going to stop. That kid is going to have, a good education and a good job. So that changes lives right there. Right. So those are the two things we do in India.
Yeah, I understand you have some statistics to give us a better feel of the situation of hunger. Perhaps you could help us, become more aware.
Sure. So, as 1 out of 5 kids right now in the U.S., okay, is going through either you want to call it, malnutrition, or you want to call it hunger, or you may want to call it food insecurity.
Right.
And that's the proper word. I see that personally when I go to children's homes.
Yeah.
I've seen that even in India. When you give them food, all of a sudden you'll see some children eat like there's no tomorrow. A lot of times people call it a psychological issue. It is, but it got there because they didn't see food for a long time. They didn't know where their next meal is coming from. I see my kids at children's homes when we do this for Chinese food. Okay?
Yeah.
When you do that for, say, Domino's Pizza. Why? Because they've never had that. They have not had. They pass by the store. They say, wow, but they've never had it. I've had kids ask me, when I told them, okay, let's go get lunch from Bertucci's. What's that? So these are local American kids who pass by the restaurants all the time. They've
Yeah.
never had a chance to go in because no one takes them there. So that's what I mean when I say
It's
one
hard
in
for
five
us to
kids.
recognize that
Correct.
as
Correct.
the average.
So 1 in 5 kids currently is malnourished and not eaten properly in the United States. And that doesn't mean that they don't have family, because the families are poor. I'm not identifying these kids as orphans or otherwise. I'm just saying overall, because of the level of poverty and the numbers we are dealing with. We have high population of kids who are homeless here in Salem, New Hampshire. We have 62 kids in Salem, New Hampshire, going through Salem school systems who are homeless in Salem. So the numbers are very staggering, and the only reason that they're not known is because a lot of times people, they don't come to soup kitchens because of ride issues, or maybe the families don't feel comfortable, they don't want to be recognized, but that doesn't make it go away. It's still there.
So talk to us about why you're here today. What kind of message would you like to put out?
I wanted to first of all say that, this is home. This is what I've been doing for past 3 years. I would like people to know that we have one soup kitchen here in Salem, New Hampshire, and we would love for those in need to come and help themselves there. And, we have no restrictions of any kind. There's no requirement of any kind. You just simply come there at 4 o'clock every Sunday at 8 Pleasant Street at Methodist Church and meet us. And, we have full dinner for whoever comes there. That's one message I really, really wanted to get across. Anyone local in Salem, any businesses or anyone who wants to help us, we would love to get any kind of financial support or any kind of volunteer support or anything that you guys can have, to offer us. We would love to take that and, see how we can grow.
Excellent, excellent. Contact information and anything you wanted to give out to?
Sure. So my website is www.wecarecharity. So WECARE charity, all one word, .org. So www.wecarecharity.org. We're also on Facebook at We Care Charity NH for New Hampshire. You guys can be friends with me on Facebook as well.
Very
and
good.
we have the website, and if you want to donate via website, there's a donation link that goes via PayPal, and we get you tax receipts as well in return. So that's how you can help.
Thank you. It was a pleasure meeting and talking to you, Shelley.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Larry. I really appreciate you getting me here and letting me talk about We Care Charity. I appreciate it.
Very good. That again was ShefaliKalyani.
Yes,
Did I get that right?
ShefaliKalyani.
I'm sorry if I
That's
missed
okay. No worries.
And of course, she's part of We Care Charity, and we want to thank her for being here today. I'm Larry Seaman for Around Town, and we'll see you around town.